joining us this morning, James. We're going to go straight into the questions now. I'll let you know who's asking the questions, and they'll hop right in. We're going to start off with Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now.
Hi, James. Congrats on getting back to the playoffs here. I want to ask you about Ohio State's offense as you guys have scouted them. Obviously, the offense has been pretty strong again this year, and they've shown they can win games in different ways. Trey Sermon, last time out, burst onto the scene with a record-breaking performance running the ball. When you guys watched that Big Ten title game, where did you see, maybe some defensive breakdowns from Northwestern that enabled Sermon to have such a big day?
Yeah, I mean, just being disciplined and fitting gaps. Those guys between Sermon and Teague, Master Teague, what a football name. But they're just great running backs, to find the hole. So the second, you make a mistake and miss a fit, they're out the gate. So you got to be very disciplined. You got to be on your P's and Q's, and they'll make you pay if you're not.
Next question is Scott Rabelais with the New Orleans Advocate.
James, last year when you played in New Orleans, you were playing such a great game, and then of course the ejection happened. Did you have any thoughts about when you saw you guys were coming back to New Orleans for this game? Did it mean anything to be back in this game and just being back in the playoffs? Do you feel like, is there any kind of not redemption, but a chance to prove yourself again on this stage?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be in the playoff picture every year I've been here. So there's never really any redemption. Of course, maybe we want to win, but we're just grateful to be in the playoff again. We don't care where we play or who we play. We're just fortunate to be here and excited for the opportunity. I'm 0-2 in New Orleans though too. So that kind of lingers in your head, and you want redemption in that aspect. But other than that, we're just trying to win the next game.
We're going to go to Patrick Murphy with 24/7 Sports.
Hey, James, similar question, but looking at the passing game, Ohio State has done well most of the games, but struggled with Justin Fields in the Big Ten championship game. Similar to the question you were asked earlier about the running game, what did you see there that maybe you guys can now take into this game to try and slow that passing attack down?
It's going to be hard. You got a Heisman caliber player in Fields. They got great skill. They got great receivers. They got great tight ends. They got dudes everywhere. So I think just Northwestern did a pretty good job, and I think Ohio State probably just didn't play their best. I think that was the main factor. They're a great team, and they're going to bring it. So we just got to try to do our job and compete, make competitive plays, and put ourselves in good position.
Up next is Grace Rayner from The Athletic.
Hey, James, can we go way back to your recruitment and why Clemson, why Coach Sweeney and Coach Venables?
Yeah, my dad played for Oklahoma, and I wasn't really a fan of anyone, which kind of helped me out a little bit, in my recruitment. My coach growing up was very similar to V, and that intensity aspect, in your face, demand perfection, all that. So as soon as I met V, I kind of fell in love with his style and his, intensity, and we're on the same wavelength, me and him. And then that's before I knew the kind of man Sweeney was. So it was a win-win, when both of them are recruiting you. The decision was easy at the end of the day. I knew from pretty early that, I wanted to play for a man like Sweeney, and I wanted to be coached from a guy like Coach V.
Next up is Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch.
James, this will be your third time playing Ohio State over your career at Clemson. When you prepare for them, at this point, does it feel, because of the familiarity, like a rivalry game?
I wouldn't call it rivalry, but there's I think we definitely, there's blood in the water for both of us. It's just I don't think it's a rivalry. I think it's a semifinal playoff game. It's a chance to go play for a national championship. It doesn't matter who you're playing at that point. You want to win, and they do too. There's definitely a lot of intensity brought into the game, and that could feel like a rivalry game, but I wouldn't call it that. It's a playoff game. It's to go to the big show. So.
Next up is Josh Needleman from the Charleston Post and Courier.
Hey, Jamie. We heard from Dabo earlier that Xavier missed the game last week because he was in a protocol situation. Just do you have any insight into how he's doing mentally after having missed all that time this offseason, recovering from COVID and strep, and then missing the title game again last week?
I don't want to speak on Xavier's behalf. I mean, I know he's got teammates that are all on his side. They're all there for him, and a support group. You can't get any better here at Clemson. So, I mean, y'all can talk to him personally if y'all, get in his head. But I just know everyone in this building is supporting him and whatever he's going through.
Next question is David Hale.
Hey, James. I'm curious, you mentioned the personality of Coach Sweeney as being one of the reasons that you wanted to play there. I feel like this year he has probably been criticized more than he had probably ever been in his career for a lot of reasons that I think are just explicitly Dabo. He speaks his mind on things without necessarily trying to couch his words to make other people happy. I'm curious what it's been like for you as players to sort of see some of that critique of him this year as the season has gone along.
No, I mean, it's just a normal year for us. I mean, if you spend all your time trying to please everybody, it usually doesn't end well for you. You don't get accomplish and do things you want to do, and you kind of change your belief, in some of the things. I'm with Dabo 100% all the time. I don't see anything different. He's always been this way to me. So, I'm behind him full force always.
Next, we'll go to Bill Landis from The Athletic.
Hey, James, is there any similarities between what you all had to do against Ian Book and kind of containing him in the pocket to what you're going to have to do against Justin Fields with his ability to create plays?
100%. You could argue Fields is even more talented athletically with speed and stuff. The guy makes plays. He's going to play. He's, like I said, he's a Heisman caliber player. He's going to play in the league. He's a great player. So we're just, like I said, you got to be on your P's and Q's, got to do your job, and you got to do it at a high level.
Next up is Anna Hickey from Clemson 247.
Hey, Jamie. How are you feeling physically after the ACC championship? And how do you feel right now?
I feel great now. I feel fantastic. And then after the ACC championship, I was sore, but it was the right kind of sore. It was the first time I was that kind of sore all year. Really, I've been dealing with injury all year, something here, something there. But after the ACC game, it was that soreness where, it was like, all right, I just played a football game, a championship football game, the kind of soreness you like and you want. So, I feel like I'm pretty much 100% now. I feel really good, practicing hard, and I'm happy to finally, kind of be healthy.
Next up is Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports.
You got me, James?
I hear you.
Yeah. So much has been made about the spread offenses and how they can't be stopped, and everybody's running them. You guys run it. Alabama runs it. Ohio State runs it. Is there a secret sauce being developed somewhere, maybe at Clemson, to slow it down? As magic as it is?
Yeah, no. Nowadays with these offenses, they do such a good job creating, space and mismatches, and it's hard. It's hard to stop anybody. But I think the secret is bend, don't break. It's, they're going to make plays. They're good too, but don't give up the big play and play good red zone defense. So everyone's capable of moving the ball, but it's a matter of can they do it an entire game, and could you make the crucial stops at crucial moments to pull away.
Thank you very much, James. We're going to have to move on to the next because we do have players waiting. So thank you for the time this morning, James.
No problem. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
And I did lower the hands, but again, if you have additional questions, go ahead and raise them again for our next player as he comes in.
All right, we're being joined now by redshirt senior graduate and second team USA Today All-American safety Nolan Turner. We'll turn it over to John at the Sugar Bowl for moderation. John.
Thank you very much, Nolan. We're going to go straight into questions. I'll introduce the reporter and his media outlet, and then you can go ahead and answer the questions. We're going to start with David Hood from tigernet.com.
Hey, Nolan. Good afternoon. Last year, you guys stood in the locker room after the win over Ohio State and talked about how beaten up you were, bruised you were, how physical that game was. Does that still stand as one of the more physical games you've ever played in? And did their physical nature kind of take you guys by surprise at first, and did it take you a little while to kind of adjust?
Yeah, I mean, they're, a great football team, obviously, and that was, one of the most physical games I think we played in. It was a tough 4-quarter battle all the way to the end, and they've got a lot of great players over there. So yeah, it's definitely one of the most physical games, and I assume it will be this year too. They got a great team coming back, and we look forward to another fun matchup.
Next up is Ralph Russo from the Associated Press.
Hey, Nolan. Been a weird year, obviously. I'm wondering if you can share with us maybe something that you particularly missed, something that was particularly unusual that you had to sort of maybe give up this year to get through the protocols and all the things along those lines. Like, what made this so abnormal away from football?
Yeah, definitely a crazy year. And, one of the biggest things I'd say is just, the social interaction with, people that you normally have that you kind of had to give up a little bit this year to stay COVID free and to give yourself the opportunity to play. Because, there's just so much unknown, and you never know who's going to be in or out, in the season, and, if you get sick. So I'd say that was the biggest thing. And then obviously miss the fans, miss having full stadiums and playing in front of thousands of people. So that's been different as well. But yeah, I'd say the challenge and the commitment it takes to, to stay COVID free and, keep yourself kind of isolated and your so-called circle and, just staying safe.
Next up is Bill Rabinowitz from Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Nolan. How tough do you think it's going to be to have to sit out the first half? And how are you going to kind of approach it because of that?
Yeah, it's frustrating. Obviously, I really want to play in this game, and I'll get to in the second half. But it's an uncontrollable for me. I can't control that, and just got to go into it, coaching guys up, and being supportive on the sideline and bringing in energy to, that we need from guys on the sideline. So, looking forward to playing in that second half. But in the first half, I gotta, be a coach and help out and encourage guys. So.
Next up is Matt Connolly from The State.
Nolan, speaking of that, have you guys switched up reps at all at practice? Are y'all kind of splitting first team reps? And then how are you trying to help and I guess get the defense ready without you for the first half?
Yeah, obviously we got to get the guys ready that are going to start the game. So, we've kind of handled reps similar at practice, but different at times. Just got to get the guys who are going to start the game in at practice. So getting that, and I'm also getting my reps. Because I'm going to get to come in the second half and play. So we've had a great week of practice, and the off week last week so far, and great preparation and by the guys. So I think we've done a great job, splitting up reps and getting everybody ready.
Next up is Zachary Brazeler from New York Post. Zach, you need to unmute.
Nolan, obviously Ohio State's got a lot of motivation from last year. They obviously a very close game. They felt a few calls could have gone their way. How do you guys match that? I mean, how do you match, they've obviously been waiting a year to get another crack at you guys. How do you guys match what they have, what they're going to use for fuel?
I mean, when you have an opportunity to play in a game like this, you shouldn't have to need any extra fuel or motivation. I mean, this is, the biggest stage of college football, and it's just such a, fun atmosphere and fun game to play in against phenomenal competition. So, I look at it, like we say, just like any game, but I mean, these are the fun ones right here. This postseason play against, another top team in the country, it doesn't get any better than this. So, that's all the motivation I need.
Next up is Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Nolan, what ways is James Skalski integral to what you guys have been able to do stopping the run this year?
James is such a great leader and such a violent football player, and plays the game the right way and just gets everybody on the same page lined up front. Controls the front seven and just really does a great job communicating and leading up there. And everything's gonna operate smoothly when you got him in the game. So it's just such a vital part of the defense and just such a good football player. And I think he's one of the most underrated players that I've ever been around. I think he brings so much to a defense, and just from a physicality standpoint, from a knowledge standpoint, and I think people don't acknowledge his athleticism, at times. But he's such a good player.
Next up is Andrea Adelson from the ACC Network.
Curious, Dabo said he wants you guys to play an overall better game than the last time you guys played Ohio State. What kinds of takeaways can you all take from the performance last time that'll help this time?
Yeah, if you just go back and watch the tape, we really didn't play a great game. Obviously, they jumped up on us, punches in the mouth, and got up 16-0. And, we were fortunate to, settle down on defense and get some stops and have some big plays offensively and come back and ultimately win the game. But, we got to play a lot better fundamentally, tackling, finishing plays. I didn't play very well last year, and people kind of overlooked that with the interception at the end. But, it's been a game I've been looking forward to get back. I really didn't play a good game last year, and I'm just excited for this opportunity again to play these guys and, definitely play, a better game as a whole team.
We'll now go to David Hale from ESPN.
Nolan, I think one of the sort of impressive things that goes unnoticed a bit between you guys in Alabama and Ohio State is the consistency with which you guys play at a high level and how difficult that is to kind of get up week after week after week to do this. I'm curious how much this year has been different in terms of trying to do that, given that, as you said, you haven't had those sort of recharge moments at home with family and stuff like that, that it has been so much more coordinated and contained because of the virus. Has it been a tougher task to kind of motivate yourself every day to be at that same level?
I don't think motivationally it's been tougher, but just, this year as a whole has been tougher, just with different challenges. You've got the challenge of the game, you've got the challenge of COVID that you have to, maintain. And so, yeah, that's been difficult. But, the biggest thing that I think has stood out this year is, teams' cultures, to be consistent. And that's really shown, I think, and all the, big college football programs and the teams that you keep seeing show up in the playoff, typically have, good cultures and good leadership. And I think that shows, and especially in a year like this, with all these other distractions and the adversity that teams have had to go through.
Our final question will come from Dan Hope with 11 Warriors.
Hey, Nolan, who are some of the other guys that you feel like can step up in the secondary with you being out for that first half?
Man, we got a lot of guys. I think Landon and Joe, all year have played a lot of football and have done a great job. Two really athletic young guys that have played a lot of football now, and they're not really young anymore. So, for sure them two. I think Ray Thornton, Tyler Venables, RJ Mickens, all guys that have had great weeks of preparation and practice. So, I'm super confident whoever we, have, play this week. So, we should have a great group of committed guys in the back end and, super confident they can get the job done.
Thank you very much for your time, Nolan. We look forward to seeing you down here in New Orleans soon.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Once again, go ahead and raise your hands if you have questions for the next player, and we'll do our best to get to everybody that we can.
Everyone, we're going to be joined in just a few moments by redshirt junior graduate linebacker Balin Spector, second team All ACC selection by the Associated Press. He should be joining us here in just a few moments.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning, or I guess it's afternoon for you, Balin. We're over here in New Orleans, so it's still morning for us, but we appreciate your time. We're going to go ahead right into questions from the media. I will identify them by name and media outlet, and you can go ahead and answer the questions after that. We're going to start off with Trevor Groves from cutigers.com.
Hey, Balin, hope you had a Merry Christmas. Just curious what you've seen on film from Ohio State's offense so far, particularly Trey Sermon, as you know, had a really big game against Northwestern last week.
Yeah, they're a great team. They bring a lot of challenges. They've been in this situation before, and we'll be ready for what they bring to the table. We've been preparing all week, as we have every single day. We've been preparing all week for the same as we do all year, so we'll be ready.
Next up is Patrick Murphy from 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Balin, similar question, but specifically on Trey Sermon with the big day that he had in the Big Ten championship game. Does the focus change at all when you see a guy rush for 300 plus yards, or do you continue to look at tape throughout the year and focus more on what you saw throughout the season?
I mean, you definitely have to pay attention to it. You can't say it's not there. He's a great player. Both of their backs are really good, Master Teague, and they're going to bring challenges to the game. Their offensive line is very experienced. They've been in this situation before. Obviously, prepare the same as we do all year. Take the game plan that the coaches give us and go out this week and practice and try to execute the best we can. And then when it comes to game day, just always do the best.
Next up is David Hood from tigernet.com.
Hey, Balin, last year in that game, standing in the locker room, everybody was talking about how physical of a football game that was, and some people might have even suggested they caught you by surprise with the physical nature. What are your remembrances about that game and how physical it was?
Hey, it's the stage that we're in, and the stage that we're going to be in the future. These last, especially in the playoff, teams are very physical. It's the best of the best, and I think you just have to be ready for it. I mean, it's good on good. It's the best against the best, and you just got to stick your nose in there and be as physical as possible. And I think we bring that to the table, and we'll be ready for it. I mean, Notre Dame had a great offensive line too, and we were ready.
Next up is Ralph Russo from the Associated Press.
Morning, Balin. Wanted to get a sense of an idea of what this season has been like for players away from the field, all the things that you've had to sacrifice. Can you give me a little idea of after an afternoon game, instead of doing what you would normally do after winning an afternoon game, maybe see your family, maybe get together with friends, what was that like this year?
It was different. You just got to understand the situation that we're in and the situation that we're going and the goals that we go after every year and each and every week. Obviously, you just got to be smart and understand who you're around. Obviously, wear a mask, be around your family. Obviously, it's different. You're not able to go see your friends and family as much, but you are with your family after the game, which is nice. It's quality time. It's different, but I mean, I'm thankful for the time that we have and thankful for the position that we're in right now. And we have done a great job. Coaches, around here, they've done an unbelievable job to just put us in situations to have the restrictions available and just prepare us for the COVID-19 restrictions, all that stuff. It's different, but we're thankful.
We'll now go to Nathan Baird from cleveland.com.
Hi. Nolan was just here talking a little bit about James Skalski and how he's maybe an underrated player, especially from an athleticism standpoint. How do you see that on the field? Where do you see things that maybe the average person doesn't about what he does as a linebacker?
Me and Nolan were talking about that the other day, actually. I think people undervalue his athletic ability all the time. We see it every day. People don't see it. The kid just comes in here and grinds every single day. He's probably the strongest kid on the team for the linebackers for sure. And he runs just as well as we all do. You just have to be here and see it for yourself, I think. I think he's a great player. I'm super thankful to have him right beside me when I'm out there on the field. he definitely brings it, and you see that on the field. We haven't seen it all year, and you were able to see that in the ACC championship.
We're going to go to Trevor Groves from cutigers.com.
Hey, Valen, just also like to know if you made a decision about whether you come back next year or if you're going to wait and see how everything plays out, and if that's the case, whether you're able to win another national title will be a major factor in your decision.
No, my plan right now is to come back. I mean, obviously, I've thought about my decisions and what's in the future for me. Obviously, that's very important to me and my goals and what I want to do in my career. Well, I think the best thing for me right now is to just come back and have another year of tape and to really just prepare for my goals.
We're going to go to Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch.
What do you remember most about last year's game? Is there a moment that stands out?
Physicality, very physical game, and it was long too. I know Chad and Jamie were very exhausted at the end of the game, and they brought it. So it's gonna be a battle, and we're excited. I would say that's, if I would remember anything, the physicality of the game.
We're going to David Hale from ESPN.
How much has this year felt different? I mean, obviously you got all the stuff with COVID that has changed this year, but has the sort of day in and day out routine felt that much different to you to get to this point as it has in the last few years when you've gotten to this point too?
I think it's pretty much the norm now. I mean, we've been doing it for so long that it's pretty much normal. We come in, we have our routine, the workouts, we wear our mask. Team meetings are in the indoor, we're all spread out. It's pretty much normal. I wouldn't say it's different. I mean, it's obviously different than what we have done in the past. But pretty much now at this point in time, it's normal for us.
Next up will be Matt Connolly from the State.
Valen, how different is the bowl schedule going to be for you guys and the whole bowl experience this year? And are y'all doing any of the, I guess, events or any of that kind of stuff that y'all typically do?
I say it's very different, especially for the older guys. The younger guys, they really don't know because they've never been to a bowl site. So, but for me and the older guys, I mean, going to a bowl site is always what you work for, especially the whole season. It's very fun. You get to do a lot of different things and just spend time with your teammates and go do different stuff. And then, but this year it's obviously different. Tonight we got bingo night. They're trying to do some stuff. It'll be fun though. We're enjoying it as much as we can.
We'll now go to Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch.
Valen, just because of the familiarity with Ohio State and how often Clemson and Ohio State have met in the playoffs over the years, does this game at all feel like a rivalry game to you guys?
We know what's on stage and the caliber of the game and what type of team they are, and we'll be ready. I mean, obviously we played them now 5-6 times, and we'll be ready. It's definitely a rival. We played them a lot, and we're excited.
Next up is Anna Hickey from Clemson 247.
Hey, Valen. I was wondering if you could speak to the running style, the skill set of Trey Sermon, and have you seen his production and I guess just maybe his comfortability in the offense increase in recent games?
He's a talented player. He runs very physical, gets downhill. We're going to have to be ready for him for sure in the run game. And then all the things that they can do off that, throwing game, play action, stuff like that. They'll be a great team. They have a great offensive line, and we'll definitely have to be physical in our front, and then especially with the linebackers, and be able to do the best we can to get him down.
And our final question will be from Grace Rayner from The Athletic.
Valen, going back to Skalski for a second, we obviously see the really intense side of him on the field, but can you give us a little insight into what he is like away from football?
I think depends on what kind of mood Skalski's in. I like being around Skalski. He's one of my best friends around here. One of the best teammates I've ever had. Pushes you every day. Depends on the day, I think. I mean, some days he comes in here and he's super intense than others, and some days he comes in and he's kind of relaxed. I'm super thankful to have him as a teammate though, and been able to get him over these past couple of years and seen him grow and come back and how much he knows, all of his knowledge.
Thank you very much for the time, Valen. Good luck in your preparations.
Thank you.
All right, joining us now is freshman All-American by The Athletic and ACC co-newcomer of the year, according to the Associated Press, defensive end Miles Murphy. We'll turn it over to John for moderation.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon, Miles. I hope your preparation's going well. We're going to go ahead right into some questions from the media. I'll identify the media by name and outlet, and we'll start off with Ralph Russo from the Associated Press.
Hey, Miles, how are you?
Doing good.
So, I know you've been on campus for a while, but then you have this weird year where all these restrictions come in as a freshman. How did that impact you getting to know your teammates beyond maybe just the group of linemen? Like, have you been able to do you feel like you've been able to get to know people?
Most definitely. If anything, I feel like I've spent all of my time around my teammates, and I've made the best bonds that I could have made in college with my teammates because I'm around them 24/7. It's just straight practice, and school was online this past semester, so sometimes I'll just be in class, and we have study hall together, so I was really around them 24/7. So I've made the best bonds with them.
Next up is Stephen Means from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Miles, can you just talk about Ohio State's offensive line and what you see when you watch them on film and what kind of problems they might cause for your defensive line?
They're pretty big offensive line, strong up front. So we're gonna have to be very strong at the point of attack up front, and they have a very good run game, very good structurally in their play calls with the stretches, inside zone, stuff like that. So we're gonna have to be very sound in our technique and very stout and strong at the point of attack to make sure the line is not moved in the wrong direction. So it's going to be very good up there.
We'll now go to Trevor Groves from CUTigers.com.
Hey, Miles. Obviously an amazing freshman season for you. Has it really sunk in yet that you've been named freshman All-American and that you're playing on this stage, the college football playoff, right out of the gates as a freshman?
It is pretty surreal. It is kind of funny to think that I was watching this exact game last year and now I'm in it. So it is very, very special to be on the couch watching it, and then the year after a great freshman season, being in the game. So it is a pretty surreal moment.
Going to David Hale from ESPN.
Hey, Miles, you obviously, I'm sure, chose Clemson in a lot of ways because of the culture and personality of the program and Dabo in particular. When you guys went through sort of this offseason and there was a lot of criticism sort of aimed at Dabo, what was it like for you, somebody who was sold on the program by him, to kind of hear some of that talk from folks outside the program, and how did the team react inside?
Well, Dabo, he always preaches to be inside out more than outside in. The sink doesn't ship unless the water gets in the ship. So he always preaches that. And I knew what type of man Dabo was. We all knew what type of man Dabo was. So what outsiders said about our coach, it really didn't affect us because we knew what type of person he was. The coaches knew what type of person he was. And we really just kind of shook off all the outside noise and just, kept going with what we knew.
We'll now go to Dan Hope from 11 Warriors.
Hey, Miles, what have some of your older teammates told you about what it's like to play against Justin Fields?
He's a very, very strong quarterback, very strong in the pocket. So when we do get to him, we're going to have to wrap up and get him all the way to the ground. We can't just tackle him initially and then just hope that he goes to the ground, because he will not go to the ground unless you make him go to the ground. So this is a very strong quarterback, very strong legs, and just try to keep him pocketed. And if he does get out running, he's very dangerous in open field. So we got to keep him in the pocket and just wrap up on him.
We'll now go to David Hood from Tigernet.com.
Hey, Miles, looking at that game last year, you probably noticed really early that one of the defensive ends drifted a little bit, didn't set the edge, and they ran that big play early. How often are you going to hear from Coach V this week about set the edge, about use your eyes, And then how important is that considering just how strong their run game is? And if you give Sermon or Teague a crack, they're gone.
Well, it's very important. And if you didn't know, well, if I didn't know it was important before last week, I know now because Coach V has preached it every day on multiple occasions. So it's pretty much ingrained in my head, set the edge, do this and that. So if I don't know, I know now. That's for sure.
We'll go to Andre Adelson from the ACC Network.
Miles, do you feel like the performance in the ACC championship game was the most complete defensively this season? And how much can that perhaps carry over into this game?
We did. It was we had a good outing defensively in the ACC championship game, and Coach Winnie always says we play our best games towards the end of the season. Our game normally just starts to go up towards the end of the season once we put on the orange britches, you know. So I'm sure I have full confidence that it will carry over, but we can't just hope that it will carry over. We have to put in the preparation, watch film, keep standing in weight room, recovery, stretching, and whatnot. But yes, I do see it carrying over.
We'll now go to Patrick Murphy with 24/7 Sports.
Miles, great last name, by the way. You talked about watching last year's game on the couch, now being in the game. How much were you looking forward to this opportunity at the time, knowing that Clemson has made it a history of getting to this point? And now that you get to play in kind of this rematch, so to speak, what's the excitement level at this point?
Well, I am very excited. It's more so getting just, staying in the preparation, staying in the playbook. But it is a very exciting moment because my teammates, they've always been talking about going to the bowl sides, what they've been doing at bowl sides. Although it's going to be very different this year. I really don't know what different is, but I'm just excited to go down to the bowl side. As we got bingo tonight, so that's going to be a little different for them, but different for me also. So, just something excited to do.
We have time for one more question if anyone has one. Otherwise, we can dismiss Miles. Any other questions? We'll go to Zach Brazeler from New York Post.
Miles, it's usually obviously a tough transition for most guys going from high school to college and, being a true freshman. When you throw in the virus and everything and obviously the shortened training camp and spring ball and all that stuff, how much tougher did this make this year for you as a true freshman?
Well, it is most definitely more to look out for because, if you test positive, you have to sit out a certain amount of days and possibly miss a few games. So we most definitely had to be safer when we were off on football days. So going home, had to always wear a mask. If you want to just see a friend or something, you have to always wear a mask, keep your distance and whatnot. So that itself made it a lot difficult. Then a lot of stuff in the facility changed where we're all sitting 6 feet apart from each other. Meeting room had to change from a meeting room to the indoor facility so we could keep social distance. So a lot of it has changed, but I guess progression in actual football, it's pretty much been the same. So, because I have been getting better, but besides that, everything has changed. Just on the field, progression's been just as usual as it can be.
Thank you very much for your time this afternoon, Miles. We look forward to seeing you down here in New Orleans in a few days.
All right.
One update for people, if you hadn't checked some of the emails and realized that there's information on an FTP site, that's through the college football playoff. We'll be uploading video from all of these calls to that site. Coach Sweeney from this morning should already be up on the site. So if you need access to that and you didn't get the emails on it, go ahead and send me an email at johns@sugarbowl.org. We can make sure to get that out to you. You can also check allstatesugarbowl.org. We have a quote central section under the media tab. That's where we'll have transcripts of all of these, or not all of these. Again, we're just doing the head coaches and coordinators for today, but we will be adding in at least one player from each team today as well. So if you're on our media list, all of that will be emailed directly to you. For those of you not on the media list, if you'd like to be, once again, send me an email. We'll add you into it. Obviously, a unique year with we probably have a lot more virtual media than media in attendance here. So it's like for everyone, it's been an interesting time, but we want to do everything we can to help you all out.
All right, everybody, joining us now is Clemson defensive coordinator and former 2016 Broyles Award winner Brent Venables. We'll turn it over to John from the Sugar Bowl for moderation. John.
Thanks for joining us this afternoon, Coach. We really appreciate your time in a busy time, I know. What we're going to do, we'd like you to start with a brief opening statement, but then we'll go ahead and open it up to questions from the media. So if you'd like to start out, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, just incredibly excited, thankful, for the opportunity to be able to play back in the Sugar Bowl. So proud of our guys. Started the year with 9 first-time starters. First game back at Wake Forest, and it's been a lot of fun. Really proud of our guys, how much they've grown up, certainly improved, but just developing an identity and going through some struggles along the way, and just getting better. It's been a fun year. And fulfilling year. There's nothing better for a coach to watch your guys just get better from the beginning to the end. Watch leaders develop, watch freshmen really get their feet wet and learn how to play the game at a high level, and just coming together, just the chemistry and those types of things are developed throughout the course of the season. And overcoming a lot of adversity, everybody in college football. What a crazy year it's been. And but just thankful, for our players, their families, the sacrifices that have been made. Certainly for our fans and our administration, our coaching staff, and our families. And just got a great perspective, on the opportunity, that we have. And again, just thankful more than anything else, for our players and all of their hard work and their investment, in Clemson and trying to make this a special, historic year.
Our first question is from Gene Sapikoff at the Charleston Post and Courier.
Hey, Brent, hope you had a great Christmas. You just talked about your leaders, and I want to ask you something about particularly your senior guys. How important have the parents of those guys been that you've had in developing that sort of character and leadership, and in particularly Niles Pinckney's mom and dad and their impact on the program?
Yeah, I mean, without their support, players, they're going to get support from the people in this building, certainly. And we also got to be the same ones that, demand more and to demand their best every day. Without the support of the families, or not everybody has the same support system. So wherever that resource is coming from, sometimes it's the coach, sometimes it's somebody in the hometown, sometimes it's an aunt and uncle. Certainly for Niles, it's his family, and they live just down the road. Having moved from Well Branch to right down the road here in Pendleton. It's been a great, source of support for, again, not only him, but also nourishing the things that we're all about as a program, as a football family. So their leadership, there's no question we wouldn't be here without those leaders, Niles included. Seeing him grow up, even as a fifth-year guy, to see him grow up has been really satisfying. And thankful for again, him just sticking in there, you know, because there's been a lot of things that have happened with Niles, injury-wise in particular, and then playing behind a bunch of other great players. And but he's always been a guy that's always been ready when given his opportunity. A couple of years ago in the national championship, he's in there making a critical tackle, a critical stop on a fake field goal in the national championship. And so just very, very proud of him. And again, just thankful for, again, like you said, the support system from our players, parents, second to none. You know, we're incredibly fortunate.
Go to Rob Oler from the Columbus Dispatch. Rob, are you with us? We'll go to Bill Landis from The Athletic.
Hey, Brett, how is Justin Fields a different kind of player from the guy that you all played against last year?
I don't see a whole lot different. He's a terrific player, can do it all, can, you know, run, can throw with precision, you know, run with strength, and, you know, play with great poise. Just he's a great leader, very natural, got an incredible skill set, great presence in the pocket. And, you know, he's, you know, without question, their leader, you know, on offense. So everything goes through him. You know, he's a great game manager as well. And, but, you know, poised and experienced and, you know, just incredibly, incredibly talented. I see more similarities than differences.
We'll go to Paul Meyerberg from USA Today.
Hey, Brent, could you describe for me, if you can, the impact and legacy you think Trevor Lawrence is leaving and will leave behind when he does end his career at Clemson?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the great quarterbacks are defined by, you know, how they win, and nobody's done it better. What I love about Trevor, you know, he's a fierce competitor, really hard on himself, always demands more from himself, but he's got this this steadiness that the great ones have. And he's got a unique quality, makes everyone around him better. He's the first to shoulder the blame. You know, he's willing to be in the back of the line as a leader and serve, and just has tremendous humility and has since the day he's gotten here. So again, he comes from, again, talking about parents, just wonderful people, and just he's been a joy to be around. And but legacy, I mean, we've been fortunate to have some great ones here, and you know, nobody's done it better, you know, than Trevor. And again, just done it in a very first-class way.
We'll now go to Trevor Groves from CUTigers.com.
Hey, Coach. Chris Olave is obviously a great receiver. Missed the Big Ten championship game. How much of a difference maker will he be, and how difficult is he to prepare for?
Yeah, he's a great player. He can take the top off the defense, very savvy, really understands ball, and can make all the competitive plays. He's got speed, length, size, toughness, savviness. You know, this would be the best, you know, group of receivers that we've played against, you know, this year. So we'll be challenged for sure, but Chris is a terrific player.
I'll go to Scott Rabelais from the New Orleans Advocate.
Brett, obviously, Dabo's comments about Ohio State and where he ranked them has got a lot of attention. How much? Maybe some people have taken it one way or another. How much is that just Coach Swinney and his frankness? You've probably gotten used to over the years.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to speak from, you know, again, his heart, and he's going to stand on his beliefs, and he's certainly not going to be politically correct. And I'll be honest, certainly I'm paying attention, but it doesn't really affect us at all. You know, again, this is just another great opportunity. And so whether or not he upset the apple cart or whatnot, I mean, Ohio State's going to be excited to play just because it's a great opportunity. You get in the playoffs. I mean, that's what it's all about, is making the most of your opportunity. And certainly this year, you know, everybody's worked hard. Everybody's had a lot of struggle. everybody has made a lot of sacrifice, whether or not you're able to play games or not, when you started or not. There's been anxiety for everybody. There's been unsuredness, a lack of security, a lot of unknown, a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, and certainly again, the commitment to a team is hard and demanding on everybody. So to say who's had more or less is certainly not for me to judge, but I know it's been tough on everybody. Matter of fact, I remember maybe it was the day that the Big Ten announced they weren't playing, and Kevin Wilson and I, who we coached together at Oklahoma, and our families are close, but we're on the phone just trying to see what each other's heard and what's going on, and just how disheartening it was for us as coaches to think, man, they're really going to cancel this college football season. So to fast forward what seems like 3 years later, been one of those kind of years for everybody. How could you not just be so, again, appreciative and thankful for, everybody that's had, a hand in, getting to this point. So, you don't need any extra motivation. You play in these games, man. Are you kidding me? It doesn't matter who you're playing. It's what you're playing for, and that's what, our focus has been on here.
Next up is Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah, Brand, this is a little bit of a follow-up on that. Dabo's reputation has been kind of this all shucks guy, and could you just kind of speak to the evolution that you've seen in him, how comfortable he is in his skin now?
I think he's always been comfortable in his skin since I've known him. He's the same exact guy. He's the guy I thought that he was when I saw him from afar. He's just very genuine, real, authentic, raw, emotional, speaks from the heart, true to himself, true to his values. And people, when you're in the spotlight, people are gonna, they can manipulate it any way they want. And, he's not ever trying to claim to be a perfect person or an opinion that's that everybody's going to agree with. But when you're in the spotlight and people put a mic in front of you, you can again choose to be somebody that you're not, or just again be true to yourself. So I know he's a fierce leader, somebody that is an incredible man, husband, father, Christian leader, coach. Know he cares deeply for his players and his program and the former players and every one of the members of our families. And he loves this sport. And, he loves the sport, what it stands for, how it's changed lives, the generational change that you gain through your experience as both a player and a coach. And, he's somebody that has benefited greatly from, coaches and the opportunity to play this game. And he's impacted and changed for the better so many lives. And so there's nobody on this earth that I have more respect for. I know who he is and what he stands for. And I know how he's made me a better husband and a father and a Christian and a coach. And just very, very thankful, for him. And that doesn't mean that we got to agree with everything. He doesn't expect that, with everything that he thinks, but we certainly are there to support him in every way. He's as real as it gets.
And one final question from Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports.
Hey, Brent, congratulations again. There's a reason that teams don't run the wishbone anymore, don't run the veer. Is there ever going to be a magic bullet defensively for what's going on offensively with the spread, do you think?
Oh, man, I don't know. It seems like come down to our staff room and you hear all of our complaints. Woe's me. It's hard. It's harder than it's ever been, to coach defense. And but I love it. It's a challenge, and I don't know. It's tough, but again, hey man, you try to do the best you can, and try to help your players. And a lot of the rules, again, they get to decide when they snap the ball. They get to decide when, if things don't work, they get a punt. On defense, you got to stay on the field, and you got to stop people. That's the name of the game. So I love it. I love the challenge of it. There's been different things, in the 27, 28 years that I've coached, there's been a variety of things that have changed. And like you mentioned, you went from the option to the spread and all the different intricacies. There's still more that's the same than not. And the fundamentals of the game don't change. The physicality of the game don't change. The precision, the timing of things, a boxer's punch, the great ones, that's always been the same, their ability to time it up. And, the strategy that goes behind it, certainly there's some of that, but there are a lot of option principles and a lot of what you see just from a different presentation. So, we kind of attack it with, everybody's against us kind of a mindset. And so it's a lot of fun. I'll be very honest, but it is more challenging now than ever. And because a lot of the rules, there's some gray area, and I just use, the RPOs, for example, the NFL, you don't watch an NFL game and watch there be any gray area whatsoever. If that lineman's down the field, he's down the field. If the mark is 3 yards, if they're beyond 3, then just, call it then when it happens at 3. And I think people that have actually been out there that have expressed concern about some of the rules and just pushing the envelope, so to speak, is because of their experience and some things I'm talking about. Whatever those rules are, is harder than ever for officiating crews to manage the game now more than ever too. And but anyway, I'm not complaining. You just asked the question. I love what I do. I love the challenge of being a defensive coach. But things that stay the same, your fundamentals, technique, physicality, mindset, that hadn't changed.
Thank you very much for your time, Coach, and good luck in the rest of your preparation.
Appreciate it. Does that mean I'm done?
You're done, Coach.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it.
All right, Mike. On you, buddy.
All right, joining us next will be the third starting linebacker of our 3 joining us today, redshirt sophomore Mike Jones Jr. We will turn it over to John for moderation. John?
Thanks for joining us this afternoon, Mike. We really appreciate your time. What we're going to do, I'll call on the reporters by their name and media outlet. They'll ask you the questions and you can go ahead and answer. We're going to start with Josh Needleman from the Charleston Post and Courier.
Hey, Mike. Dabo was saying earlier how years from now there will be books written and documentaries made about this season just because of all the sacrifices everyone's had to make. What are some of the sacrifices you've had to make personally?
I would say both me and like everybody else, just like the regular college experience, it's kind of weird, like not being able to hang out with your friends all the time or, not be able to see your family after the game, not be able to go home during your bye week just because like you don't even want to risk it. Celebrating after wins and stuff like that, being with your buddies on the bus on the way to away games and things like that. It's been a lot. But, like I said, everybody's had to go through them. We've all had these trials and we've managed to get through them. We'll keep on.
Next up is Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Mike, just curious, what sort of confidence does your defense go into games like this with because of Coach Venables and I guess just what he gives to you guys intellectually as far as a game plan before a game even starts?
We always try to, develop that energy like through the week of practice. Our confidence comes from our preparation. And so, that kind of is dependent on us. And Coach V's going to keep us to a standard all week throughout the practice. So, it kind of like feeds off each other. But, we go into the games confident, but that's just because we've done it all week throughout practice.
We'll now go to Matt Connolly from the State.
Hey Mike, Nolan was saying earlier that you guys had bingo night tonight. Just what I guess how different has this whole bowl experience been, and what's the schedule look like for the rest of the week for you guys?
Yeah, it's been a lot. Been very different. Usually we spend like almost like a whole week out at the bowl site. That's pretty fun. I've always enjoyed that, just like kind of getting different feel, going to practice at different places, walking through at the stadium multiple times, stuff like that. But yeah, that's been different. And here it's like we go home every day. So it's like, it feels like I'm like still in like the regular season. But nah, I'm glad we just able to play. I'm glad we able to have a playoff and bowl game, stuff like that. I don't remember what the second thing you asked was, but yeah.
I know y'all have bingo night tonight. Do y'all have other things planned the rest of the week?
Practice and meetings. That's about it.
Thank you.
We'll now go to Zachary Brazeler from the New York Post.
Wait, how would you kind of describe this, I guess, rivalry that's kind of been created the last few years with Ohio State? Obviously played in the playoffs twice. Last year was a classic game. Their fans don't really like Dabo very much with some of the stuff he said. I mean, how would you characterize this rivalry?
I would say I kind of think of it as like nail biting, like what's next? Like, oh Lord, like are they talking stuff? We talking, like everybody got their own little narratives out. Last year was like a crazy game, like what's about to happen this year? I don't know. It's kind of like nail biting to me. Like I'm excited to see like what's gonna happen, and I'm playing in it. But I don't know if I'm excited. I know the people like who are just gonna be watching. Got to be excited for it all too.
We'll now go to Patrick Murphy from 24/7 Sports.
If you had to pick one area of Ohio State's offense that stood out to you the most when you're watching film, what is it and why?
I mean, of course, if you watch the last game, running back ran for like 300 yards. So that was pretty outstanding right there. The game starts in the trenches, obviously. And, they have a great quarterback, of course, great receivers, of course. But, at least for myself, my mindset is we got to go out there and try to stop the run. They got a great offensive line. And Sermon, the back man, he's a great player. Master T, he's a great player. Try to do our best on defense, stop the run. That's what has been big for me, doing my studies.
We'll go to David Hale from ESPN.
Hey, Mike, over the summer when you guys decided to speak out on social justice stuff, I think you guys certainly quite rightfully got a lot of praise for doing that. Meanwhile, Dabo was criticized for maybe not always saying exactly what people wanted him to say. What was the response inside the locker room from people like you who were trying to be very front-facing during all of that about how he handled it and what he had to think? And do you think that it was sort of a lot of misperception about who he was and what he was all about and what he was trying to say?
Yeah, definitely. Before anything was said publicly or anything like that, Dabo came to the team and addressed us personally. And he said everything he needed to say to us, to where we felt comfortable to go out there and, say what we had to say. But also, we were comfortable, and, just inside our walls. I know what type of guy he is. Everybody in here knows what type of guy he is. And, it kind of like rubbed me the wrong way, just like seeing people like, poking him from all these different angles, but we knew internally, who he is as a guy. We know he cares about us, cares about all his players. And, so we weren't too fazed about what was going on the outside, but at the same time, like, you don't want to see anybody talking bad about your coach, especially when you know his character, who he is as a man, and people are attacking him that way. But yeah, he addressed everything with us first, and he's a good dude. I ain't like how they're coming on my coach now.
We'll go to Grace Rayner from The Athletic.
Mike, we obviously know all about his leaderships and the intangibles he brings with his experience, but just from a pure football perspective, how is Clemson's defense better when Skowski is healthy and contributing like the defense is intended for him to?
I mean, he's just. I feel like I don't even know like what I could really say, but it's just like so evident that we play on like another level. You know, of course he brings the energy, and he's such a smart player, man. The communication is just, you know, I'm not saying it's like not up whenever he's there, but it's like we all on our P's and Q's the whole time. You know, we saying everything, calling out things the whole time. You know, it's just like another level of like just knowledge whenever he's out there. You know, he's got plenty of experience, and you know that helps the whole defense, man. He knows everything, you know, from the front seven to back seven, everything. You know, he sees things. You know, a lot of times, you know, teams with tempo, you know, it's hard to get all your pre-snap reads and things like that, you know, and sometimes in a short amount of time, and you know, with guys like scouts, you know, communicating little things, you know, you're able to pick up on things right before the snap. And so it just, you know, just that maturity level, that experience, man, it helps bring the whole defense to a whole nother level. And I'm glad to have him back, of course.
Time for one final question. This will be Ralph Russo from the Associated Press.
Hey, Mike, thanks for doing this. So you made mention of like sort of the weirdness of this year. I'm wondering, you know, you guys are winning, so I guess that really motivates you to sort of stay on point. Do you have friends at other teams that maybe weren't like throughout college that weren't as successful? And did you sense that it was harder for them? I don't know if you want to give me any specifics, but just in general, did you ever have conversations like that with maybe friends who play elsewhere?
Yeah, I definitely did. Coming from high school, I went to IMG. And so like all of my guys coming out, you know, went to other schools, and you know, I seen like a lot of, you know, different problems, you know, teams have faced. I'm not gonna get into specifics, that would kind of be messed up. But I've seen teams that, you know, have dealt pretty badly with COVID, you know, and just like hearing, you know, things they do and things we do differently, you know, our protocols, you know, we take everything seriously here. You know, I feel like, and I'm not saying they don't, I'm not saying other schools don't, but, you know, we don't really fold on, you know, the things that we put in place. You know, we gonna, you know, have the right amount of space between everybody. We gonna wear our mask in the facility. You know, we gonna socially distance all the time. And, you know, just not folding and staying strong on, you know, the things that you have to do, you know, just during this time. You know, it's hard, but, you know, we've stuck with it all year. And I'm not saying other team people haven't, but, you know, we don't really get a lot of people with cases in a little minute. It's been a little while. But yeah, you know, it's also been good to see that. And, you know, like, hey guys, you know, we're doing a good job. Like let's keep going on. Like you see other programs out here having problems. You know, we don't want that to be us. You know, just keep going hard. You know, we got a certain amount of time left. And so, yeah.
Thank you very much for your time today. We'll be all set with you, and we'll move on to our next player.
Our final participant today is going to be one of our starters along defensive line. Sophomore Tyler Davis will be joining us momentarily.
Good afternoon, Tyler. Thank you very much for taking the time. What we're going to do, I will introduce each of the media members and their media outlet, and we'll go ahead to questions for you. We'll start up right away with Stephen Means from Cleveland.com.
Hey, Tyler, you guys have two really young guys on your defensive line, and Miles and Brian, who have been pretty good at their jobs this year. Since they've gotten here in January, how have you seen those two kind of grow in their role in these big roles that they've had as true freshmen?
They grow a lot. You know, they came in, they were pretty much beasts when they came in, though. But they grown a lot, like just with the plays, knowing how to prepare, most so mentally. They already had the physical aspects, so they growing a lot in mental aspects.
Next up will be Ralph Russo from the Associated Press.
Hey, Tyler, thanks for doing this. So I'm wondering, with all the weirdness of this year and all the things that you guys have had to sacrifice to just get to play, has it been stressful at all at times? The non-football things, the COVID related restrictions, maybe not for you, or maybe for you, or maybe for others. Have you guys had to deal with this, like, I don't know, picking somebody up or just, you know, missing home a lot?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's kind of been tough. You know, you can't go home, you can't like go out and stuff. But that's a sacrifice you need to make to play this year.
Next up is Andrea Adelson from ACC Network.
Tyler, I'm curious just in terms of the physicality going into this game. Defensive line really stepped it up against Notre Dame, and knowing how physical the game was last week, how important do you feel like it's going to be for the defensive line to really set the tone and be the aggressors against Ohio State?
It's going to be very important. You know, they got one of the top offensive line in the country. You know, everybody on their offensive line is great. It's going to be very important, though. It's going to be very important to go in and just set the tone.
We'll now go to Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now.
Tyler, you obviously play one of the more physical positions on the field, and I'm just curious if, you know, your perspective of playing 13 games or 14 games, I guess, as opposed to an Ohio State team that hasn't played as many games. Do you think it's an advantage or a disadvantage this time of year where, you know, you're trying to balance the idea of being healthy versus being, you know, in a good rhythm and you know, on top of your game?
No, I don't think there's no disadvantage or advantage. I mean, you play the game, you get on the field, you play the game. Ain't no excuses or advantages, disadvantages. When you get on the field, everybody's the same. So there's no disadvantage or advantages.
We'll now go to Trevor Groves from CUTigers.com.
Hey Tyler, you obviously missed the first game against Notre Dame and had a great performance in that defensive shutdown last week against them. How good did that feel to be able to get that kind of revenge? And how does Ian Book compare to what you saw from Justin Fields last year, just in terms of his mobility?
It felt great, you know, to get the win and the ACC champ again. But I feel like they're very similar the way they manipulate the pocket. You know, they do a great job moving in and out, making throws out fields. They like always have their head down, and then I just feel like they do a great job doing all of that, and they can make every throw. They just great quarterbacks.
We'll now go to Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com.
Tyler, what impresses you the most about Ohio State's offensive line, and what do you see from them on film that's allowing them to have the kind of rushing success that they're having?
I see like a nasty group. Like they really get after it. I mean, they're very aggressive. They're physical. They play through the whistle, and they wanted to dominate their man.
We'll go to Lawton Swan from Clemson Sports Talk.
Hey, Tyler, just kind of a question looking back on the year. What's communication been like in the trenches, and how different has it been with a lack of fans in the stands? Just you guys, the ability to talk to one another, perhaps, right before the snap.
It's definitely easier. It's definitely easier on away games when you don't have fans. But like here, like when we played at Clemson, I couldn't tell no difference because the fans were going crazy. But at away games, when you don't have no fans, it's definitely easier. You definitely can talk to somebody.
Go to Patrick Murphy from 24/7 Sports.
Tyler, you talked about Justin Fields and his ability. How much having played against him last year will be beneficial for knowing what he brings, knowing how he is actually live instead of on film? Will that be for your defense?
It definitely brings a different aspect to, you know, it's always better to play somebody just instead of watching film on them. But yeah, I feel like I'm better prepared for him. You know, it's gonna be a physical game. He's a physical quarterback that like to run. He can make every throw. So I'm definitely better prepared this year.
We have time for one more question if we have another question for our guest. David Hale from ESPN.
Hey, Tyler, I'm just curious what this year has been like compared to kind of what you went through the previous year. How much harder was this path to get here because of all of the other things that you had to endure? Has it felt like a much different season, or has it kind of just felt like a twist on a normal season?
I just feel like it's different. I mean, I would say both seasons kind of tough, but this is different. It's like it's just different for real.